Welcome to another episode of Pre-Workout Hype. Today we got a very special guest. It is Matt Boi1da Samuels.
Yo.
Appreciate you coming out, brother.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me.
So for the people out there who do not know who you are, which is very few, let the people know who is Mr. Boi1da.
Well, I'm a music producer from Toronto, Ontario, the greater Toronto area. Grew up in Durham. Made music for Drake, made music for Jay-Z, Rihanna, literally everybody that you could think of. That's really my story, This is my ends. I came from Durham, so we're just riding around right now.
So how did you end up getting into being this big-time producer?
I got into producing when I was about 15, 16. Summertime, a friend of mine had showed me about a program called FL Studio, and I always had interest in music. I always wondered how beats were made, and when I heard a good beat, I was like, yo, that's dope. I'd always look up who did it and whatnot. So I just got introduced into it, and then I started making beats, and I just became addicted to it. It just became something that I loved, and when I figured it out, and I just kept working on it constantly. And then eventually a friend of mine at school had told me about a beat competition called Battle of the Beat Makers. And I think at the time I was 16, turning 17, kind of scared to enter it because it's I don't know anything about it really. I just thought I'm just at home doing stuff in the basement. Just my friends at school are telling me I'm good. Everybody supports each other at school and whatnot.
Right.
So I went to the competition and I ended up winning 3 years in a row.
Okay.
So, that kind of gave me the confidence to keep on moving forward with it, and also it just opened doors for me. I was able to meet certain people that introduced me to other people. I met my boy D10 who introduced me to Drake, and then I met somebody who introduced me to Cardinal, Socrates, and all those guys and whatnot. But it just opened doors for me. So that's really how I began.
What was your I made it to the league moment?
When I realized I made it as a producer was, it was probably around the time Best I Ever Had by Drake came out. I knew the song was big and they were playing it on the radio a lot in Toronto. But, for the first time I went to Atlanta to go see some of his shows, and I went to New York to go see his show at SOBs, and that's when I really started hearing it on the radio everywhere, constantly. They would not stop playing the song. I remember being in New York my first time, and it was playing on one radio station, it finished. I switched to another radio station, it was on, and then I switched to another one, it was on 3 radio stations at the same time. So that was really my wow moment when I was I made something that's literally international, internationally huge, and ended up seeing it on Billboard charts. It went to number 2 on Billboard. I'd never seen anything on Billboard before, so that was my moment when I knew I did something big.
That's crazy. So, out of all the artists, I know you've worked with a bunch of big artists. Do you have a different creative process with one artist to the next, or is it the same kind of, you just kind of get them in the studio and kind of feed off of them?
With every artist, it's a different process every time that I work, and as a producer, I see myself as a sidekick, where it's I'm trying to help execute the artist's vision. So every time I get into the studio, it's definitely a different process. So, some people want to just hear a beat finish. Some people want to sit there and make a beat with you and tell you exactly how they want it. Some artists want to just tell you their whole vision and literally have a conversation before music is done to figure out what kind of music you're making. And it's always a different process, and I'm always up for the challenge with whichever artist it is.
Switching from the business of music now to music and how you feel about it. Is there something or a few songs that before you either get into your creative space, or even if you're going maybe to the gym to work out, or anything that would get you that gets you going, gets you hype? Is there something that you put on or to kind of get your creative juices flowing?
Yeah, to get my creative juices going, it's always just depends on what my mood is. Sometimes if I'm going to the gym, I'm gonna want to hear energy. I'm gonna want to hear like music that's gonna make me like motivate me and make me want to work out or whatever I'm doing at the gym, a hoop, or I'll put on like some Drake, I'll put on some Meek, I'll put on some sometimes I'll even slow it down, like play some like old school music, like the Chai Lights or whatever. Just depends on the mood that I'm in, like it's always random in me, and I listen to a whole bunch of random music, so.
As a basketball fan, do you have a particular shoe that you wear, or something that you have do you have an all-time favorite shoe?
Yeah, my favorite shoe to play in is right now it's the LeBrons. I have a pair of like LeBron ones and what's it called, or the Hardens. Like I don't know what it is about the Hardens, but anytime I put on the Harden shoes, I just get baskets. Like I don't know what it is, man. Like I just think I'm James Harden. I start hitting the Euro step. I start hitting like 30 step backs and whatnot. And I don't know. It's like the LeBrons are really comfortable to me too as well. So those two shoes, I have two pairs of those, and specifically those ones are really fun for me to play in, because anytime I put them on, I just get buckets.
And on the
Growing up as a kid, did you have a favorite player?
My favorite player to watch growing up, surprisingly, was like a really unorthodox player, and it was just, I admired him because he kind of like revolutionized the game a little bit, and he changed things up. Was I was a big Dallas fan, and it was Dirk, watching Dirk, because it was just like this big, like usually centers are like under the basket,
right,
and whatnot, but like there's this big huge German guy just like shooting trays on people. It was just the most like frustrating thing, because he'd pull all the centers out of the paint and they have to like guard him, and he could like take you off the dribble sometimes, and then he could hit you that fade away. It was either him or T-Mac, man. I also loved watching T-Mac play too, just because it was always a highlight every game. But like my favorite, my people always like say when I say this, but like one of my favorite players of all time is Dirk. Just watching Dirk play and his just unorthodox style, and I enjoyed it. I was a Dallas Mavericks fan, and I always use Dallas Mavericks in 2K. I always use Dirk, and that was my guy, man.
Speaking of unorthodox, so there's different sounds as far as for producers, like usually what a Timbaland beat sounds like, what a Pharrell beat sounds like. There's different producers who are legendary, and I'd like to think or say that you've catapulted yourself into the same breath as those guys. Like when people mention great producers, they definitely cannot leave you out of there.
Wow, yeah.
So do you have like a Boi1da sound, or do you think that you have a Boi1da sound, or is it just you're unorthodox? You kind of just go with the punches and kind of just do what you do?
So I don't necessarily would say I have a sound. My sound is really just, I just try to make it sound good, like everything's just, I try to make it like the hottest ever, but like I don't necessarily do one style. I'm all over the place, and I'm willing to take risks musically as well.
How do you feel like what you do inspires the next generation to be better?
I feel like what I do inspires the next generation, and just lets them know to just think outside the box, because every year I feel like I've invented myself producer-wise, reinvented myself maybe like 2 times already. My whole thing is just like think outside the box, and work hard, put work over any other thing, like over like the fame and the look of everything. It's like I value being the best at what you do over any other look. You know what I'm saying? Because once you have that, once you're great at what you do, like everything else just speaks for you, and everything else just comes into existence. So, I value hard work. I value thinking outside of the box. And I feel like my influence is that to the next generation of producers of, you know, thinking outside the box, working with different artists, having different styles of music, not just making, like, you know, it's so trap dominated right now, and a lot of producers just making trap music. You know, think outside the box. You know, I do R&B stuff, I do dance hall, I do hip hop. You know, different styles of hip hop.
Right.
And you know, it's just all about, to me, just hard work and thinking outside the box, man. It's like a lot of young black men, specifically think, you know, the only ways out is like sports, music, and you know, maybe illegal stuff. But you know, there's so much other things going on that, you know, you could put your focus and time into. And you know, a lot of these kids don't know that really and truly hard work. You put hard work into something, you get results, man. And you know, they don't see that because a lot of things just look so easy.
Yep.
You know, it just looks like everybody does everything so easy, and they don't see all the hard work that goes into everything. So.